Good afternoon, friends. I'm Dr. Rajat Janged from Jaipur, and today I will be speaking about meniscus repair. So, in the traditional teaching, it has been taught that the meniscus is a vestigial organ in the body and it can be removed easily. But it's not true in all sense, and meniscus has definite function in the body, and it leads to load transmission in the knee joint. It minimizes the contact stress. It leads to stability in the knee joint, and it provides protection to the cartilage. That means the meniscus and the cartilage, they are acting together to protect the knee. So, having said that, can we repair all the meniscus? Should we repair all the meniscus? No, we cannot repair all the meniscus tears because there are so many limiting factors, including the vascularity of the meniscus. So, there has to be an appropriate and informed decision which is required. And if we do consider all the factors, only 20% of the meniscus tear are repairable. Why? Because we have to follow the principle of a meniscus repair. First principle is to stimulate the healing, and the second principle is to maintain that stability while the meniscus is healing. So, to stimulate the healing, we need to do a perimeniscal synovial abrasion or a trephination or a fibrin clot placement. So, these are different techniques to stimulate the healing inside the meniscus and to maintain the stability. So, those tear which are inherently stable do not need any surgery, but those tear which are stable, unstable, and which requires a surgery or a fixation. Stable tears are incomplete tears, short tear length, that is less than 7 to 10 millimeter length. So these tears are inherently stable and we need not to fix them. So meniscus has been described in three zones, that is red zone, red-white zone, and the white zone. The vascular supply is entirely from the red zone. The peripheral one-third, that is vascular. So there is a good healing capacity in that peripheral one-third part. So anything within that red zone has to be repaired. We can think of a repair inside red-white zone, and anything inside that white zone, the inner one-third inside the joint, we may think of removing that part. So, when to repair a meniscus tear? So, any meniscus tear which is acute, means presenting within a short span, that is less than 6 weeks. So, I must go for a repair, but it has to be symptomatic. So, any acute tear less than 6 weeks, which is symptomatic, last tear like longitudinal or vertical bucket handle tears, these tears we can repair. Again, due to its vascularity, we can repair the peripheral third red zone tear, middle third tears, and leave repairing the white zone tears. We can do a meniscectomy. The short tears we can leave as such, and the tear which is more than 10 millimeter size need a repair. Unstable tears. Unstable means that is displaced by probing more than 5 millimeter inside the joint. The tissue should be viable. That means there should be a minimal deformation of the tissue, meniscal tissue, and it should be able to hold the repair device, whether it's a suture device or any other device. It should be able to hold that device. If there is some associated ligament injury, like an ACL, or some malalignment, like a correction in alignment needed, then you can go for an simultaneous ACL reconstruction or a alignment procedure. Or if there is an osteochondral injury, then you need a different surgery for an osteochondral defect. Again, it has to be an informed decision with consent with the patient, and everything should be informed to the patient beforehand. You should avoid repairing those tears which are complex, the tears which are degenerative, and tears associated with the unstable knee. We need to do an simultaneous ACL reconstruction or other stabilizing procedure. If we do not do that, there is a 40% associated re-tear rate with these tears. If there is associated osteochondral defect, then it has to be addressed together. So, if we consider all these factors, we have described this meniscus repair score. So, It includes the location from the capsule. It includes the age of the patient, the size of the tear. It includes the tissue quality, and there are other qualifiers like unstable tear, malalignment, chondromalacia associated radial tears, or a ACL reconstruction or a febrile float placement. So if we consider all these scoring, if the score is less than 4, then we can go for a meniscus repair. There are different techniques of a meniscus repair: outside in repair, inside out repair, or all inside repair. Or most of the time, for a long tear like a bucket handle tear, we need a hybrid technique. That means combination of all these techniques. All these techniques I will describe later. So the meniscus tear has to be dealt like we deal a non-union case, like we deal the healing of a bone. So we need to approach like dealing with the non-union. So first essential step is the preparation of the tear, and consider it as a non-union. Always use the enhancement technique like debridement, abridgment, trephination, float placement. During the surgery, the tear has to reduce accurately, and the reduction has to be maintained throughout the implant, suture, whatever you place it, but it has to be maintained throughout. If the meniscus is too much deformed, there is much of displacement, bucket handle tear. In this situation, a combination of technique like using the all inside out, all these technique can be used in combination. The placement can be improved with the use of accessory portals. So it improves the access and it also improves the configuration of the sutures. The sutures has to be placed every 5 millimeters and it has to be perpendicular to the meniscus fibers, and there should be a good purchase of that suture inside the circumferential fiber of the meniscus. At the end of the implant placement, there should not be any implant which is left proud, whether it's an intra-articular or extra-articular side. There should not be too much of the implant placement inside the joint because it leads to the scuffing of the stress riser of the effect in the meniscus and may lead to the failure of the implant later. And rehabilitation has to be individualized, means every patient is different and you have to devise a protocol for each and every patient. The different techniques outside in suture repair, this is quite good for the anterior 1/3 of the tears because it provides a good access to the anterior horn tears. Inside out repair traditionally followed and long-term data available. This is quite good for the mid segment of the body tears. The third generation technique or the all inside technique, this technique is quite good for the posterior horn tears. The inside out repair, it is quite easy, long-term data available. There are different zone specific cannula like the posterior horn, anterior horn, and the body part. So every cannula is zone specific, used in specific zones, and this technique is very recommended technique which has a long-term follow-up, and also this is very easy to learn and easy to reproduce. But there is definitely a downside of this, that we need to produce posteromedial and the posterolateral incision to protect the neurovascular structures. In the medial sided medial meniscus repair, there is a vascular structure, and on the lateral meniscus there is a common peroneal nerve which is at risk. So we need to make a posteromedial and a posterolateral incision. Inside out repair is done in that fashion that we accurately reduce the tear and we insert the joint specific cannula, and over that cannula we pass the suture needle and we railroad that suture through that needle and retrieve the suture outside the capsule, and the knot is tied down over the capsule. Definitely, this provides a good compression over the meniscus tear, and it provides a good mechanical strength. And the disadvantage is that we need to produce the posteromedial and posterolateral incision to avoid the neurovascular injury. Outside in repair technique, this is quite good for the anterior 1/3 tears. We have a specific needle devices for it. These are called as a meniscus fender, or and we retrieve these suture from outside in to the joint, and then pass it outside at the capsule, and we make a note over the capsule. This is the orientation of different needle. We can pass it like a vertical metal suture, that is a quite good configuration, and there is a less chance of neurovascular damage here. Articular cartilage damage is less, but you have to take master in the arthroscopic no time. Definitely, these techniques are very good and often used. But nowadays, the all inside repair device, this is quite popular in, especially in the posterior horn tears. And there are different devices available. The first generation device are the bioabsorbable darts, which are based on the bioabsorbable implant, that is, the material is PGA plus PLLA. The meniscus arrow, the meniscus dart, the stinger. There are different devices available, but these are nowadays very less often. The advantage is that this procedure is quite easy. The implants are bioabsorbable. They provide definitely they have some disadvantage, that there is a limited compression over the meniscus tear, and there is a variable resorption of this material, which is called as a bioabsorbable material, but there is a limited absorption. They may lead to a foreign body reaction. The implant may be brittle, and this may break before the meniscus is healed. And the implant may lead to a condyle injury if it is a proud implant. Nowadays, we are using this suture-based implant. Different companies have made this different type of implant, but basic mechanism is to achieve the compression at the meniscus tear. Fast Fix 360 is a Smith & Nephew implant. I do not recommend definitely any particular type of company, but this is more so often used, and this is PEEK or PLLA material, and this is a suture-based device which uses the anchors which are placed at two levels, and when you pull the suture, it leads to compression at the meniscus tear. We use the suture that is ultra braid 20, and you can adjust the depth of the penetration. That means we need to protect the posterior vascular structure. So you measure the depth of the meniscus which has to be repaired, and you can adjust that length, the measured length. I use plus 2 mm. If the measured length is approximately 16 millimeter, I would set the fast fix at 18 millimeter size, and then penetrate the one first anchor, then penetrate the second anchor. Usually, in case of vertical mattress configuration, the needle is usually a curved needle, so you can rotate it around, and you can pass through the superior and inferior surface of the meniscus. The advantage being with the second generation implant is that this is quite least invasive. This is suture based device, so you can use it as a vertical mattress configuration. The braided suture, it is quite compressible, it is less rigid, so it comes less in contact with the cartilage and leads to less cartilage damage. It always provides a 2-point fixation, by which the compression across the tear can be adjusted. Definitely, there are some limitations, that there is a quite learning curve which is needed. Definitely, these implants are quite costly, and there is no long-term data available for these devices. So, coming to the rehabilitation part, in the meniscus repair, the rehabilitation has to be individualized, since every patient is different, and you have to devise the protocol for each and every repair differently. In case of isolated meniscus repair, immobilize the knee in full extension for 7 to 10 days. Allow partial weight bear with crutches. If patient is associated with the ligament reconstruction like ACL, knee is immobilized for 2 weeks in full extension. Then we can do partial weight bear immediately. Active range from 0 to 90-degree flexion is advised daily for 20 minutes. Can be started immediately after post-operative period. After 2 weeks, progressive range of motion, bicycling, the other strengthening exercise can be started. The pulse of the meniscus repair is that visualization uh, has to be perfect. You can use the accessory portals to visualize and access the meniscus for the outside in repair. You need a spinal needle or the other needles, meniscus menders available for that, and it should be thorough debridement and trephination, resting of the tear so that it improves the vascular supply. The geometry of the meniscus has to be assessed properly, and there should be a provisional reduction done, and then the reduction has to be maintained throughout the placement of the suture implant. Accessory incisions may be required, like when you use the zone-specific cannulas in inside-out repair, you may require a posteromedial or a posterolateral incision. The repair device has to be optimized according to the location of the tear and the type of pattern of the tear. So if the location is in the posterior horn, all inside is best. If it is the middle or the body part, then the inside out repair is the best, or the anterior third tears, the outside in repair is the best. And rehabilitation has to be individualized. So in the end, I would like to thank you all for your kind listening. Thank